Exactly 3 minutes past the top of the hour. You're still on Good Morning Kenya. Time for our second segment this Monday morning. We now look at what the different dailies are holding for you, starting you off with a copy of the Daily Nation. And now, as it stands, there's plans to fold Kenya Kwanza parties into UDA. And this kind of conversation is really quite drawing mixed reactions amongst parties in Kenya Kwanza, whereby what you're having here is that actually there's a proposal to have all political parties in Kenya Kwanza Alliance wind up and join UDA, and this is in preparation for the 2027 general election, just as it were in the previous election where we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta then folding parties to form Jubilee Party. This is now the conversation happening in Kenya Kwanza, but then as I mentioned, really is rattling feathers there, because then there's really quite mixed reactions on whether or not that this should happen. In fact, just going by what one of the leaders is saying there, that is Mr. Esau Kioni. He is saying that it will be like taking us back to the old days. Folding to join UDA is not possible because it will bring to an end the culture of talking to each other. So we're to see how all this will pan out at the end of the day. Very quickly, also inside the hungry villages of Turkana, still continuing on that issue of matters food security as well as drought. In fact, also what we're getting is that perhaps this could be declared a national disaster. We also are aware that last year in November, the former president, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, clearly also declared drought a national disaster. So, but then also the rhyme of question is that in the event that this is declared a national disaster, what difference does it make, given the fact that we know that quite a number of Kenyans are really facing this issue? In fact, as we speak, we're talking about 4.5 million Kenyans. In Turkana alone, we are talking about 500,000 who right now still are grappling with the issues of food security. There has been quite a number of interventions, but again, we keep talking about when can we get a final and possible better solution to curb matters of drought and food security as a whole. And lastly, inside plans to pull troops out of Somalia. In fact, this is the main read on the Daily Nation this Monday morning, and just with 2 years and 2 months to the deadline set by the African Union transition mission in Somalia, the restoration of Somalia into a fully fledged democracy running its own affairs as envisaged by the United Nations could just be a pipe dream. The Kenya Defense Forces have been in this particular country for the past 2 years, and now there's been conversations on whether or not to take them out of Somalia. So this is what this article is also equally covering for you today. Steph.
All right. So with me here is the People Daily, and I'll take you through some of the stories making news. On the front page, Kalonzo warns Ruto over hiring of new IEBC bosses. It goes on to say the Wiper Party leader addresses a press conference. That's the photo that has been put there. After a chat service in Kisumu yesterday, he asked the government to involve Azimio in selecting Wafula Chebukati's successor to avert chaos. And there's been a lot of speculation over whether the Wiper Party leader is the one to take over the leadership of the opposition. This is because while Raila has been out of the country, Kalonzo has been issuing statements on behalf of the Azimio movement in response to President William Ruto's policy actions, with the Azimio coalition still trying to find its footing after being trounced by Ruto. Kalonzo has lately sought to break the lull that has hit the opposition since the new government was inaugurated last month. To another story still on the front page, a probe Kinoti in spotlight. This is after this is because 4 detectives are likely to be charged today over the abduction of 2 Indian IT experts as investigations put former DCI boss in the spot following allegations that some of the special unit officers received irregular orders. And at a glance, senior officers at the special units were among those who were quizzed before the decision to charge 4 of them was taken. And the investigation started after the president ordered that the unit linked to extrajudicial killings be disbanded. Also, some of the officers now claim that they were coerced to take illegal orders, but there's a law that speaks on that, which says Section 51 of the National Service Act only mandates officers to carry out lawful orders, and that could expose those who are confessing to executing illegal orders to prosecution. Incidentally, the same law also shields officers from prosecution for failing to obey unlawful commands. And the last story is that the Kenyan athletes all set for top honors. This is the World Marathon record holder Mary Kaitanyi, who's to be inducted into the U.S. Sports Hall of Fame. If you want the story, you will get the whole of it on page 28 on Matters Sports. That's about it from People Daily on the front page. Marie.
Well, I look at the Standard now, where the headline is Police Seek Clues on Missing Indians in Container Death. So investigations going on there. In as far as the disbanded SSU, if you remember, unit was disbanded sometime last week. So forensic investigations going on there, and especially in connection with the Indians and their taxi driver, John Obunde, who was apprehended in Kawangware some time back. So that story making headlines there on the Standard newspaper. President Ruto says Kalonzo has refused to work with us. So that is also a story there on the front page of the Standard newspaper, where President Ruto is also hoping to work with Kalonzo Musyoka in as far as development agenda is concerned in his region. Poor rains blow to Ruto's food security plan. That is also a story being highlighted there in the front page of the Standard newspaper, where counties are actually cutting down on their development budgets to sort out the issue of drought in their counties. So all that, you will find them in the Standard newspaper. So from me, it's goodbye for now. My colleagues still continue with Good Morning Kenya. Until on Thursday, God willing, I'm Marie Yambo.
All right, on the front page of the Star newspaper, inside Kalonzo's plan to take over Raila's stronghold, the former vice president seems to be borrowing from President William Ruto's playbook. Wiper boss has started debate over intent to succeed Raila Odinga over the last 2 days. Right, Kalonzo has been camping in Nyanza, that is Homa Bay, and in Kisumu region. Mudavadi, this is how I will restore trust in government. Prime Cabinet Secretary nominee Musalia Mudavadi has said that he will restore the trust Kenyans had in government after he assumes office. He said that his office is the fulcrum upon which delivery of public services will be measured, and therefore a place where public trust will be cultivated. Very quickly, race to replace IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati starts. President William Ruto has started the succession process at the IEBC. The president on Saturday put out a public notice to constitute a panel for the recruitment of the next IEBC chairman and 2 commissioners. And finally, on the front page, cop kills 2 colleagues' self in Moyale. This happened after an officer based at the Moyale police station in Marsabit killed 2 of his colleagues, injured others before killing himself. 2 activists want NPSC boss Kinuthia out of office. Okumu denies claims that they are being used to settle scores. 2 activists have petitioned the National Assembly to eject him from office. Evans Okumu and Josephat Masinza want the NPSC chairman investigated and hounded out of office over what they claim is mishandling of police officers' affairs. Very quickly, and finally, inside Kalonzo's plan to inherit Raila itself. Now, these are the highlights of Kalonzo's action to endear himself to Raila's stalwarts, intensify political visits to Raila bases, enhance criticism of Ruto government, and finally attend church and funeral functions in key regions. And Dan Manzo, who is a key ally to Kalonzo, has been saying that he's actually starting to take charge of the position now that Raila Odinga and Martha Karua have been away for some time, so it is now in the place of Kalonzo Musyoka. And finally, President Ruto in aggressive push to appeal to rival regions. He has been traversing opposition strongholds for prayer meetings and seen as a move to wrest control from the region. From his long-term political foe, Raila Odinga, Ruto has lined up a series of Thanksgiving and church services every Sunday across the country. That is what's on the Star newspaper. We will be continuing this discussion later on in Eye on Politics. All right.